Save, invest, pay off debt. That's the basic money advice, right? But does it really matter when you do those things or in what order? If you want to build wealth and real financial freedom, the answer is absolutely yes. In this video, I'm breaking down the best order for managing and investing your money so you know exactly what to do next, no matter where you're starting from. The very first step is building your emergency fund, and I don't mean the full 3 to 6 months you might have heard about. Not yet. If you already have that much in your emergency fund, that's amazing. But if you don't, what's most important to focus on is first, at least 1 month of your essential expenses. That's your starting target. Think of this as your buffer against true financial emergencies that are unexpected, necessary, or urgent. We're talking about sudden job loss, medical crisis, or critical car repairs that keep you from getting to work. If this is the only savings you have right now, it may also need to cover the smaller unexpected expenses, like a higher utility bill, a flat tire, or even a broken phone. Maybe you're thinking, this has nothing to do with investing, but here's the truth. Without a safety net, you'll end up pulling money out of your investments or swiping a credit card the moment something unexpected comes up. This is the step that protects your future growth. Smaller emergency funds might have worked years ago, but today a single car repair or medical bill can wipe out $1,000 in an instant. And if that's all you have saved, you're right back at zero. And if you skip this step entirely, you'll end up staying stuck in the same cycle over and over and over again. That's why starting with 1 month of expenses matters. It gives you just enough space to stop setbacks before they get out of control. And once that first month is secure, you can expand it over time towards the 3 to 6 months you'll eventually need, or more if your work or lifestyle calls for it. Then you're good to move on to step two, which is tackling your high interest debt. But not in the way you've probably been told. A lot of advice says don't invest a dime until every penny of your debt is paid off. Well, in real life, most people are already contributing to a 401k or an IRA at work, and they've got some investments going, and that's okay. You don't have to stop everything to get rid of debt first, but you do need a clear plan to pay more than your minimums and actually get those balances so they're coming down. High interest debt is anything that's roughly above, say, 8%. Credit cards, payday loans, personal loans. These balances are like holes in your pocket. Every dollar you pay off is putting you back on stable ground financially, so you're not stuck in the trap of paying more interest than towards your debt than what you're earning in your savings or your investing accounts. The key is to put it in your budget as a priority. You don't have to be debt free tomorrow, but you must be actively paying it down while you're building your other investments. That way, you're making progress on both fronts instead of getting further and further into debt. And that brings us to step three, which is simple. If your employer offers a 401k match, take it. This is one of the best benefits out there because it's essentially free money added to your future. Here's how it usually works. Your employer sets a certain percentage they're willing to match. For example, they might match dollar for dollar up to 4% of your salary. Some even have tiered systems, like 100% match on the first 4% you put in and then 50% match on the next 2%. Every employer's plan is different, so check yours to know exactly what you're working with. The important thing is this. You want to contribute at least enough to get the full match, because if you don't, you're literally leaving free money on the table. And once the year is over, you can't go back and claim it later. Now, you don't need to max out your 401k at this stage. Think of all these strategies in terms of layers. You add the first foundational step, and then you build on it with the next, and so on. As you work through each layer, you might go back and strengthen earlier ones, like increasing your contributions or boosting your savings until the whole system works together in a way that's best for you. Step 4 is building what I call your freedom fund. This is your cash flow buffer, and it's different from your emergency fund. Your emergency fund is the fire extinguisher, and you only break the glass when something necessary, unexpected, or urgent happens. Your freedom fund, on the other hand, is like the shock absorber. It covers everyday bumps that aren't true emergencies but can still throw off your budget. A late paycheck, car repair, an appliance breakdown, or even just the timing mismatch between when your bills are due and when your paycheck shows up. The goal is to build 3 to 6 months of essential expenses here or higher if you're self employed. When this fund is strong, it gives you real financial freedom. You stop draining your emergency fund for every minor issue that shows up or worrying about overdrafting your spending account between paydays. You stop stressing about income gaps and you gain options, the freedom to make smart financial decisions without constantly reacting to the next problem. And here's the key: how much you keep in your freedom fund versus in your emergency fund looks different depending on your income, your lifestyle, and your future goals. And I go into detail about how to set up those layers in a way that fits your life circumstances in my Holistic Wealth Activation Program. What's important to know is that both accounts work together as a whole system. Your emergency fund for true crises, your freedom fund for the everyday bumps and things that just happen. Step 5 is to take advantage of tax advantaged accounts. This is where your money finally starts working for you instead of the other way around. These accounts, things like Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, or similar retirement plans, let you grow your investments with special tax benefits. And that matters because taxes can quietly chip away at your returns if you don't use these tools. The key here isn't to get lost in all the options or to max them out on day one. Remember, this is a layered system. Once your safety nets are in place, your high interest debt is under control, and you've grabbed your employer match, this is the next layer that you add. Start contributing to a tax advantage account and let time and compounding do the heavy lifting. Whether you're in your 30s with decades ahead of you or in your 50s using catch up contributions, the principle is the same. Use these accounts to protect your growth from unnecessary taxes and to build long term wealth. And if you're already contributing to one of these accounts, that's great. Keep it going. Just use this step as a checkpoint to make sure you've also got the earlier layers in place so your investing is supported, not sabotaged. Step 6 is dealing with your low interest debt. These are things like student loans, car loans, or sometimes even personal loans with low interest rates. From a financial standpoint, these don't hit you as hard as the credit cards or the payday loans. So you have some flexibility here. The questions to ask yourself is, what's most important to me right now? Paying off this faster or putting more money into my investments? Neither answer is wrong. If you're the type who wants the peace of mind of being debt free, you might choose to focus on paying it down. If you're comfortable carrying the debt at a low rate while your investments grow, you might split your efforts or lean more toward investing than paying down the debt. The key is to be intentional. Don't let low interest debt become an excuse for overspending or lifestyle creep. Use it strategically and make sure it's part of your bigger plan instead of something that quietly hangs over your head. Step 7 is deciding what to do about your mortgage. For most people, this is the single biggest debt they'll ever carry. And here's where you have a real choice. On one hand, making payments towards your mortgage gives you a guaranteed return by cutting down on interest and shortening the loan. It also gives you peace of mind, knowing you're that much closer to living mortgage free. On the other hand, mortgage rates are usually lower than the returns you could get by investing that same amount of money. Choosing to invest instead means you're giving your money more time in the market, and that compounding can often outweigh the savings from paying down your mortgage earlier. But, and this is important, mortgage rates today aren't what they were 5 or 10 years ago. For a while, people were locking in 3% mortgages. Now, rates have been climbing towards 7% and even close to 8% in some cases. And that changes the math. At those higher rates, putting extra towards your mortgage might make a lot of more financial sense because you're essentially earning that same percentage as a guaranteed return. So which one is right? It just depends on your values, your timeline, and your comfort level. If being debt-free brings you security and better sleep at night, put more toward the mortgage. If maximizing your long-term growth excites you, and especially if your mortgage rate is still low, then lean into investing. Either way, the important thing is that you're being intentional with this step and not just defaulting into one path without making an intentional, values aligned, and informed choice. Step 8 is to invest in yourself because at the end of the day, your greatest asset isn't the stock market. It's your ability to earn, grow, and create new opportunities. This could mean building skills, earning a certification, starting a side business, or even improving your health and energy so you can show up stronger in every area of life. Another powerful form of investing in yourself is expanding your knowledge of wealth building, whether that's through courses, coaching, or mentorship. The more you understand money and how to align it with your goals, the more of an advantage you have in building wealth, achieving financial freedom, and living the life you've always wanted. And just like the other steps, this isn't a one and done move. It's another layer you can keep coming back to. As your foundation grows, keep asking yourself, what can I learn or improve next that will make every other financial step easier? That's how you multiply your wealth in ways that go beyond money. Step 9 is investing through a regular brokerage account. Once you've checked off all the other steps, a brokerage account is the next layer. This is where you can invest beyond the limits of retirement accounts, building wealth for goals that are 5, 10, 20 years away, not just retirement. A brokerage account gives you flexibility. You can invest in index funds, ETFs, or stocks, let them grow, and still have access to that money when you need it without the age restrictions that come with retirement plans. The key here is to treat it as a long-term wealth builder, not a trading account. You're not trying to time the market or gamble. You're creating another vehicle that gives you flexibility and growth outside of retirement-only dollars. You don't need to master all of this at once. Just focus on the step you're on and keep building step by step. The real key is making sure you don't miss the next piece because knowing the best order of investing your money is just part of the puzzle. Watch this video next if you want to go beyond just investing and actually take the steps you need to build wealth, create financial freedom, and live the life you've always wanted.